If you are new here, Inktober is an optional social media challenge where artists create ink pieces every day for the entire month of October. So if I could math correctly, 31 days of the month also means 31 drawings total. This year, I am recreating 5 manga double spreads once a week from series I have read and loved in the past. And last week, I recreated this manga double page from Full Metal Alchemist. And for this week, I will be drawing from, drumroll, Inuyasha. As usual, I am using the Leader brand manga manuscript paper and a blue Pilot Eno mechanical pencil for the sketch line. The blue lead here is difficult to see here on camera, but it is a photocopy friendly blue where it can't be picked up by a photo document scanner. So I'm gonna assume most of you are new here and likely have no idea who I am, which is fine. But in my previous sketchbook tour from when I was a young buck, my initial drawings, or should I say my trace work, were from, you guessed it, Inuyasha. I know tracing other work is frowned upon here, but I was like 10 years old when I did that. So Inuyasha admittedly was the first anime I had watched when it aired on the local television, because back then TVs weren't advanced enough for parental control. But because episodes would air out of order, I'd get confused with the plot, but I was so enamored with the art style, and that was when my jaw dropped when I found the book format in the library. And that, my friend, was when I discovered manga. I eventually fell into the rabbit hole that is the world of Rumiko Takahashi, who is the manga artist, and read her other works such as Mermaid Saga, Ramna One Half, and her short story collection. There is a certain way she paces her panels combined with the 1980s and 1990s art style that she still maintains today. So as you could take a guess, I will be recreating this double spread panel from the very first chapter. So this panel is when she lays eyes upon a half human, half demon who was sealed to the tree with that arrow for 50 years. Now I picked this spread here because the way the artist replicated the effects of the sun rays through the trees using only ink and screen tone is just magical. And the way she even used the screen tone portrays Kagomi's look of wonder. Now I don't have the screen tone to get these exact effects, but I will try my hardest to manually replicate it. And try not to kill my hand in the process. Now the sketch here is just about done. I hope you could see it, but after around 5 hours of eyeballing and guesstimating, I want to say that I am as close to the original that my ability allows. For ink drawings with a decent amount of details, sketching takes a good chunk of time because I want to nail down most of the details before bringing out the inks. Ta-da! We will be using this Kuretake Zig comic ink here. Most brands of comic ink should work, but this was just what I had on hand. And then my handy G pen here, gotta draw like the professional mangakas. And like in the previous videos, I don't have the right screen tones on hand, so I will be coloring the gray areas with gray Copic markers. And for the cross hatches, well, I'm just going to have to find some nice pens for that. Personally, when I start inking, I like going from left to right just to give myself some structure, or else my ADHD will take over and just make me bounce everywhere. Also because I'm right-handed, it'll give me less chances to smear wet ink from the back of my hand. So my game plan for now is to do the main line work of each character and the background element, like the ground foliage and the tree trunk. And I will do a second pass with the gray Copic markers. And then of course, do the cross-hatching patterns last. Now as you can see, inking is a very slow and tedious process, but also the most satisfying part when it's completed. But that means we gotta put maximum focus in making sure these lines are crisp, and also there are a buttload of details down on the bottom here. So want to make sure the inking quality is great across the board and not rush when I just get to the point where I want to get this over with. So gonna speed it up a bit here, but we are going to do the first pass of ink. My hand be cramping. I am so delighted this part of the illustration is done. The grand foliage was like grinding repetitively in a video game to level up. But inking the characters was a 10 out of 10 experience. Also, using solid black for the trees in the background was great because it covered up a huge chunk of the space and made it much less empty. Now I need to rest up my hand and just go do some errands and touch some grass and go on a cute mental health walk. Alrighty, I'm back. What was I supposed to do again? So the next phase will be coloring certain areas with Copic markers. Here are my grays. These are all from the same family of grays, so will not be too inconsistent here. I also decided to do this second because I know cross-hatching is going to take me a million years, and I felt like doing something easier after concentrating so hard on the ink line. So looking at the reference photos here, the gray tones are generally going to be on the characters, a lot of the leaves, and some parts of the tree trunks were supposed to indicate shadows. Side note, for how long I've had these markers, these are still fairly juicy. You can see I am seamlessly adding the colors in. The ink flows just like new. It's crazy, huh? And the Copic pass is done. We are inching closer and closer to the end. And now, as we have stated before, we are on our final pass, which is the cross-hatching. And you and I both know this is going to take a long-ass time. But also because I did put this off to the end, if I mess up the cross-hatching here, that means I messed up the entire drawing. After putting in, I think 10 hours at this point, that's an insane amount of time. So to make sure it doesn't go to waste, I did do a little trial run on scratch paper. Obviously, cross-hatching is one direction diagonally, the other diagonal, and then horizontal and vertical line, and then obviously add more line to make thicker one. This is with the super thin 0.05 pen here. This is the uni pen, but honestly, any Sakura Micron or multiliner pen will work. I opt to use the fine liner pen instead of the G pen just to not risk any ink smears or ink spills, and also just because it's probably faster. So my method for this phase is cross-hatching by section. I'm going to start smaller just to build up my comfort levels before I do the much larger areas. So I will start with Kagome's eyes here since this gives me a large margin of error. Not too bad if I say so myself. Alright, going to start with those trees in the background. I think even if I mess it up, it won't be too obvious. You can see a variety of heavy and lighter cross hatches, so I will be sure to replicate that here. Taking quite a bit. Oh, would you look at that? The results are obviously not one-to-one to the original, but I actually liked how it ended up turning out. Okay, I think I'm ready for cross-hatching the foreground character over here. Definitely need to go heavier on the cross-hatching for the hair, and then try to lighten up for the school uniform. We'll just put a montage here, it's gonna take a while. Wowza, we are almost at the end, my friend. I actually really like how this turned out. I think I have a pretty good grip of what the cross-hatching technique should be used, and honestly, maybe I should have done the sun rays in the trees first. Seems to be far easier than cross-hatching the character over here. So, we know the drill. The sun rays also have a variety of heavy and lighter cross-hatches, so gotta make sure it maintains that magic. Onwards! We're on the final stretch. Done! Holy crap. This was already pretty far out of my comfort zone, but a huge part of me can't believe I managed to get this done. Especially recreating a double spread from my childhood manga series. Now, if I were to take a gander, this took around 12 hours. Pencils took 5 hours. And then the first pass took another 5 hours, especially trying to get down to tree textures and foliage. And then the markers and cross hatching took around 2 to 3 hours. Pretty good 12 hours well spent if I were to say so myself. Now, side note, I was always planning to draw this manga double spread for this week as a love letter to Rumiko Takahashi, but coincidentally, the D-Young Museum happened to have an art and manga exhibit, and it featured artists that included Ichiro Oda, who did One Piece, Hirohiko Araki, who did JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and what do you know, Rumiko Takahashi. I was able to see the original manga manuscript and just saw firsthand all of the imperfections and flaws and yet magical lines of the original pages before they're scanned and edited for publication. Now, if you are in the area, I highly recommend making a visit to the DM Museum in San Francisco, as this exhibit will run until mid-January. Also, I thankfully made it out of the gift shop in one piece. My wallet was about to get robbed by all the cool stuff there, as there's something for everyone. Thank you as always for making it to the end of the video. I will be doing these inking videos weekly until the end of October, so I hope to see you in the next one and wishing you all an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye!